My cold-blooded mafia boss, Don Cashes, tore my painting to shreds right in front of everyone. I needed to vent. I texted a picture of my legs and fishnets to my dark web. Sugar daddy, wanna be stepped on by your mistress. Stroke it for me now. I looked up. Usually an untouchable iceberg in A. Bespoke suit swallowed hard. His ears flushed a dark red. Curious, I sneaked to peek at his phone. My photo, my filthy command both flashing on his screen. Holy underscore underscore, I shot through my veins. My stupid underscore underscore thumb slipped and hit the video call button. Holy underscore, my ruthless mafia boss is the sugar daddy who calls me mistress on the dark web after my phone accidentally dialed him. Don Case's private phone buzzed on the conference table. The entire boardroom was dead silent. I held my breath. My palms were slick with sweat. 10 seconds ago, I hit the video call button for a contact saved as 6. One dumb money who is currently sitting at the head of the table. The same man who had just ripped my art restoration draft into 5 pieces. Never in my wildest dreams did I think the sweet man who cried for his mistress online and wired me millions without blinking was the city's most feared mafia godfather. 10 minutes ago, he tapped my canvas and sneered, "Arya, this is your 5th draft. Did you get your head slammed in a door 5 times?" I almost cried right then and there. My family was drowning in millions of dollars of debt. My only way Al was restoring antique paintings, and he was the boss who held my life in his hands. But now, if he answered that video call and saw my face, everything would flip. The constant fear of my drafts getting rejected, the debts, a nightmare of my parents selling me off for an arranged marriage, all of it solved. I stared at his phone on the table. My heart hammered so hard it bruised my ribs. Answer it. Come on, answer it. The screen lit up. Then he declined the call. A second later, my own phone buzzed. "Mistress, I'm in a meeting. I can't take my pants off right now. Be good. Don't be mad. Sending you money. I'll contact you later. Love you. Transfer 52,000. I was stunned, but seeing the money, I couldn't stop the corners of my mouth from twitching up. Split second later, a voice like cracked. I snapped me back to reality. "Arya." I snapped my head up. My gaze crashed into Cash's dead gray eyes. "What the underscore underscore are you smiling about?" Every head in the boardroom turned to me. A dozen suited wise guys stared at me like I was dead meat. I opened my mouth. "Are you what?" Cassius stood up at 6 feet 1 inch. He towered over me, his 3-piece suit impeccable. "Did you hear a word?" I just said, I heard you." "Then what's so funny?" He took a step forward, his presence suffocating. "Arya, I've been in this business for 10 years. I've never seen a restore as garbage as you." My lips trembled. "Your color matching is a disaster. Your brush work looks like a underscore underscore toddler. Did it? Do you have any idea what this draft of yours is?" "Boss, shut up." He stepped right up to me, leaning one hand on the table, casting me entirely in his shadow. "Do you know how much this painting is worth?" $20 million. His words sliced like a knife. "Your parents' debt plus interest is just a fraction of that." My blood ran cold. I gave you 5 chances. Cassius whispered, his voice dangerously low. Show me this trash again, and I'll throw you in the underground fighting ring with your frame. You'll last 3 rounds. The payout will just be enough to buy your urn. The room tilted. I knew exactly what the underground fighting ring was. Last month, an underperforming rest order tour was sent there. He came back wrapped in bloody bandages. Tears spilled from my eyes. I couldn't stop. Boss, my voice shook violently. My boyfriend just texted me. I couldn't help stop. Cassius cut me off cold. Nobody cares about you and your boyfriend. He pointed a finger at my head, looking like he was about to put a bullet between my eyes. I paid top dollar for you for this auction. You pull this underscore again, and I'll show you exactly how the Falcone family does business. Someone in the room let out a low sneer. I buried my head lower. Tears hit the table one by one. The $52,000 transfer notification was still lit up. On my screen, the man who cried for his mistress, begging me not to leave him, and the mafia tyrant standing in front of me, ready to end my life on a whim. They were the same person. I dug my nails hard into my palms. Don't cry. Don't talk back. Don't let him notice. Anything is wrong. If Cassius found out I was the mistress who made him get on his knees and call himself my dog, I wouldn't even get an urn. He'd bury me alive. Did you hear me? Cassius's voice pressed down on me. My blood froze. I forced the words out of my tight throat. Understood, boss. It won't happen again. The meeting ended. The room emptied. Fast. No one dared look at me, terrified of catching Cassius's crossfire. I slumped in my chair, my legs too weak to stand. Elena walked over and grabbed my arm. She dropped her voice to a harsh whisper. Are you insane? You tried to video call someone right in front of the boss. Who is it? I wiped my face and looked around. The room was empty. This was my chance, Elena. I licked my dry lips, trying to sound casual. Do you think the boss dates anyone online? Elena froze. She stared at me like I grown a second head. Excuse me, you. No. I braced myself on the dark web. Could he have an online girlfriend? Elena stayed quiet for 3 seconds. Then she laughed a cold, hollow laugh that made my skin crawl. Arya. She crouched down, enunciating every word. Are you hallucinating from the stress? I was just asking Cassius Falcon. Elena cut me off. 30 years old. 0 scandals. Do you know why I shook my head 2 years ago? The youngest daughter of the Taurus family thought she was pretty enough to sneak into his bed at night. Elena's voice was eerily light. The next morning, she was dumped at her family's front gate, both hands chopped clean off. My stomach turned. The boss doesn't do women. He's such a germaphobe. He won't even drink from a glass a woman touched. Elena stood up, looking down at me. He's not a man. He's a monster. The kind whose hands are permanently stained red. Stop listening to dark web rumors. Wake up, people. Make that underscore up for money. My throat tightened. I'm pretending I didn't hear this. Elena patted my shoulder. But if you slip up in front of the boss again, I won't even be able to collect your corpse. She turned and left. I sat alone in the Empty boardroom, my hands and feet. Freezing. I was dead. That was my only thought. Put myself in Cash's shoes. I was a stranger who made him call me mistress, who made him wear a collar and strip on camera to show off his abs. That wasn't a kinky game. That was holding a blade to a monster's throat. If he found out it was me, he wouldn't date me. He'd cut my tongue out and use me as part of a picture frame. I could never get exposed. At 9:00 p.m., I dragged myself back to my leaky, rundown apartment before I could even take my coat off. My phone buzzed. Mistress, the meeting is over. Are you still mad? Can I do it for you now? I stared at the screen, my fingers stiff. My mind flashed back to how Cash's looked this afternoon. Cold, vicious, ready to drive me to my death with a single sentence. Then I looked at this text. Just look at it. Please, mistress. I shuddered. The whiplash gave me vertigo. I took a deep breath and replied, no need. Instantly, my phone blew up. I'm sorry, mistress. I shouldn't have ignored your call during my meeting. I was wrong. I'll pick up next time. Don't abandon me. Give me one more chance, please. Let me show you. A video call request popped up. I stared at the green button, my finger hovering over decline. Right. Then another transfer notification popped up. Transferred $10,000. Mistress, take this first. Just don't block me. I closed my eyes. The debt collectors had called 3 times today. My mother was crying on the phone, saying if I didn't get 20 grand, they'd sell me off to a 60-year-old man in the Romano family. If I rejected Cash's now, he might finally give up. But if I humor him tonight, next month's rent and my mother's medical bills were covered. Plus, if I backed off now, his suspicions from this afternoon would only grow. My only way out was to act until he completely believed I had absolutely nothing to do with the trembling restore from today. I took a breath and hit accept. The screens were pitch black on both ends. Didn't turn his camera on. Neither did I. This was our unspoken rule for 2 years. No faces, no real names. Mistress, a deep, crisp male voice came through the speaker. My whole body went rigid. Was really him, the same voice that sliced through me like an ice pick. Today was now dripping with honey. Are you still mad? He was so careful, his breathing so light. It was like I could see the desperate, eager look on his face. Through the screen, I typed not mad. A beat of silence, then a heavy sigh of relief. Thank you, mistress. His voice was actually shaking. I stared at the dark screen, my mouth dry. The man who made me want to kill myself this afternoon was practically crying right now. Didn't you say you'd show me? I typed, then show me. He clearly froze. On the other end, really? I can. His voice spiked with pure, unadulterated joy. He sounded like a golden retriever who'd just been told he was a good boy. No, __, hurry up. Okay, he laughed, a low, breathless laugh that spilled through the speaker and made my ears burn. All right, I'm starting. The camera flickered on. A pair of strong, elegant hands appeared on screen. Slowly, those fingers reached for the cold metal buckle of his bespoke trousers. I held my breath, watching the zipper go down inch by inch. My eyes went wide. I was 24 years old. I'd never seen anything like it. I thought I'd seen it all. Erotica, dark web, galleries. What hadn't I seen? But when that thing actually appeared on screen, I shrieked and threw my phone onto the bed. It hit the mattress with a thud. Mistress. Cash's panicked voice came through instantly. Mistress, what's wrong? Did I scare you? I'll stop. I covered my burning face, my chest heaving. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. Was that thing real? Was it even human? I took 3 deep breaths, but I couldn't cool my face down. In the mirror, I was as red as a boiled lobster. No, I absolutely could not let him know I was flustered. Mistress, he sounded frantic. Now say something. Did I do something wrong? I grabbed the phone and immediately hung up the video, channeling every ounce of coldness in my body. I typed, did you not finish puberty? The book boyfriends I read about are all 12 in dead silence for 5 whole seconds. Then a voice, no, popped up. I tapped it. Mistress. He sounded wounded, almost pleading. Those books aren't real. My Aiden is already really good. He paused, his voice dropping even lower. With your body. I was actually worried you couldn't take it. My face burst into flames again. This man, the boss, who terrorized mafia executives and ended lives with a single word. When talking about this with me, he sounded worried. I shook my head to snap out of the weird flutter in my chest. No, I couldn't let him off easy. I was going to pay him back tenfold for how he humiliated me. Today, I took a deep breath and typed furiously, I definitely can't take it. You're too old. I want something pinker. Maybe I should find a young boy toy to play with. The chat went dead quiet. I stared at the screen, my heart racing. Did I go too far saying that to a 30-year-old man, especially a mafia? Dawn, a second later, video call. Requests spammed my screen once, twice, 3 times. I declined all of them. Then came the voice note bombardment. I clicked the first one. Mistress Cash's voice was shaking, actually shaking. Whatever color you want, I can do it. Whatever shape you want, I'll get. Surgery, I'll go tomorrow. Whatever doctor you want from any country, I'll fly them. In second voice note. You can't abandon me, mistress. Besides being a little older, I can fix everything else. I can't get my youth back, but I can keep you better than those boy toys. Whatever they give you, I'll give you 10. By 100 times more by the third voice. Note. He was practically panting. Mistress, please don't find anyone else. I'll do whatever you say. I leaned back against the headboard, staring at the ceiling, a grin spreading across my face. This felt so _underfoot. The man who treated me like a dog this afternoon and threatened to send me to a fight club was now willing to get surgery because he was afraid I didn't like his size, but reality yanked me back. I had to submit that restoration draft. Tomorrow, the one cache is called trash. I had to pull an all-nighter to redo it. I dropped the smile and replied, depends on how you behave. I'm busy. He replied instantly, what's wrong? Mistress, can I help? I'll do anything. I bit my lip, an idea forming. This was my chance. I pulled 3 all-nighters on a restoration. Then some bastard called it dog __ in public today. Now, I have to do it all over again. His breathing shifted instantly. Which blind? __ his voice went dead cold. Pure. Undiluted rage. Who said that, mistress? Give me the address. I'm heading over. With a gun right now. I'll make him kneel and apologize to you until his head bursts open. I turned off the screen and laughed out loud. Was he trying to meet me in person? Little did he know the bastard he was promising to murder was himself. The sheer absurdity of the situation pressed down on my chest, hot and wild. The most feared man in the city, the tyrant who had just threatened to throw me into a blood-soaked underground arena, was currently begging to hunt down himself on my behalf. No need, I typed back, forcing my fingers to stop shaking. I don't want blood on my hands, but if you want to, make it up to me. You'll help me with my work. Almost instantly, the 3 dots appeared. Anything, mistress. Tell me what to do. Do you need money? I can buy the company that's stressing you out. I can buy the whole street. My breath hitched. He wasn't exaggerating. He could buy my entire life with the change in his pockets. But if I let him do that, the paper trail would lead straight to Arya Elena, the pathetic, failing art restore. I don't want your money for this, I replied, channeling the cold, authoritative tone I had used to dominate him for the past 2 years. I want your eyes. The client who rejected my draft is an idiot. He claims my color matching his trash and my brushwork looks like a toddler's. I'm going to send you a photo of the original painting and my restored draft. You tell me what you see, and remember, be honest. If you lie to please me, I'll find someone else. I would never lie to you. Mistress, send it. I walked over to my makeshift easel where the shredded remnants of my 5th draft lay scattered like dead autumn leaves. Taking a deep breath, I pulled up the high-resolution digital scans of the original $20 million Renaissance masterpiece, a portrait of a tragedy-stricken Florentine duchess, and the digital mock-up of my proposed restoration. I cropped out any identifying metadata, watermarks, or logos that could link the files to the Falcon estate. Then I sent them for 3 minutes. The chat remained dead silent. My heart pounded against my ribs. Was he analyzing it? Did he recognize his own painting? Then a voice note came through. I pressed it to my ear, my skin prickling at the sound of his deep, growly voice. The original artist used a lead tin yellow glaze for the highlights on the Duchess's sleeves. Cassius said, his voice entirely stripped of the trembling submission from earlier. In its place was the sharp, razor-focused intellect of a man who collected priceless antiquities. Your draft uses a modern synthetic cadmium yellow. Under natural light, it looks fine. Under the gallery's H halogen bulbs, it will look flat, almost green. It throws off the warmth of the entire left quadrant. Your brushwork isn't the problem, mistress. Your medium is. You're using a standard linseed oil binder, but the original was done with walnut oil. It lacks the fluid transparency. I stood frozen in the middle of my cramped, drafty kitchen. He was right. During the boardroom meeting, he had screamed at me, calling my work garbage and dog __, but now, stripped of his performative cruelty and speaking to the woman who held his leash, he had just given me the exact technical critique I needed to save my life. Is that all? I typed, keeping my digital persona aloof. The underdrawing he added in another voice note, his tone softening, returning to that desperate, eager to please frequency. The Duchess's left shoulder has a slight pentimento. A correction the original artist made. Your draft covers it up. Leave the correction visible. It gives the painting its soul. Did I do well? Mistress? Please tell me I helped. My fingers trembled as I typed my reply. You did well. Perhaps you aren't entirely useless. Thank you, mistress. Thank you. Can I send you another transfer? I want to make sure you have enough to buy the correct walnut oil. I want you to have the best. Only because you insist, I replied. A second later, a notification flashed. Transfer $20,000. I stared at the screen, a hysterical laugh bubbling up in my throat. I had just used the mafia boss's own obsession to get him to critique his own painting, and he had paid me 20 grand for the privilege. But the amusement faded fast as I looked at the clock. It was nearly midnight. I had 8 hours to completely strip the fifth draft, mix a new batch of walnut oil-based glazes with lead tin yellow pigments, and recreate the entire left quadrant of a 20 million masterpiece. If I failed, the underground fighting ring was waiting. The next morning, the Falcone headquarters felt like a mausoleum. I dragged my feet through the marble corridors, my eyes burning from lack of sleep. My fingers were stained with stubborn yellow pigment that wouldn't wash out, and my clothes reeked faintly of mineral spirits and lavender. Spike oil. In my arms, I cradled a large, flat wooden transport case containing the sixth draft. This was my last stand. When I entered the boardroom, the tension was thick enough to choke on. The wise guys from yesterday weren't there, but Elena was standing near the window with a tablet in her hand, and at the head of the long mahogany table sat Cases. He looked terrible. His bespoke charcoal suit was as immaculate as ever, but the dark circles under his cold gray eyes were pronounced. He was staring intensely at his phone, his thumb twitching over the screen. He looked like a man who had spent the entire night staring at a ceiling, waiting for a text that never came. As the heavy oak door clicked shut, his head snapped up, his gray eyes locked onto me, cold and predatory. You're late, Arya, he drawled, his voice like dry leaves scraping over concrete. I apologized on Cases, I said, keeping my head low, my voice trembling. It wasn't entirely an act. My adrenaline was spiking so hard I could hear my pulse in my ears. I stayed up all night reworking the canvas. Unpack it, he commanded, gesturing lazily with a gloved hand. He was wearing his signature black leather driving gloves because of his germophobia. I recalled Elena's warning. He won't even touch a glass a woman has used. I set the case on the table, my hands shaking as I popped the brass latches. I carefully lifted the canvas and set it on the display easel in the center of the room. Cases didn't move. He sat back in his leather chair, his eyes narrowed as he studied the painting. From 10 feet away, seconds ticked by. The silence stretched until it felt like a physical weight pressing down on my chest. Elena stood perfectly still, not daring to breathe. Slowly, Cassius stood. Up. He walked toward the easel, his steps silent. He stopped just inches from the canvas, leaning in close. His nose flared slightly, inhaling the scent of the fresh paint. Walnut oil, he murmured almost to himself. My heart skipped a beat. He leaned closer, his eyes scanning the left quadrant where the Duchess's sleeve caught the light. Under the harsh boardroom lights, the yellow didn't turn green. It held a deep, rich, luminous warmth that seemed to glow from within, and there, visible only to a trained eye, was the faint, ghostly outline of the original artist's mistake on the shoulder, the pentimento. Cases went rigid. For a terrifying moment, I thought he had figured it out. I thought he was going to pull a gun and put a bullet between my eyes right there. My knees went weak, and I had to grip the edge of the table to keep from collapsing. Who helped you with this? He whispered, his voice dangerously low. And no one, boss, I stammered, my voice cracking. I realized my mistake after yesterday. I realized the linseed oil was too thick and the synthetic pigment was reflecting the halogen lights incorrectly. I stayed up to fix it. Cassius turned his head slowly to look at me. His gaze was intense, dissecting me, looking for any sign of a lie. And the pentimento, yesterday you had it completely covered. Who told you to reveal the underdrawing? I studied the digital infrared scans of the original. I lied, my voice shaking so violently I was sure he could hear it. I realized the Duchess looked too rigid without it. The mistake makes her look human. Cassius stared at me, his gloved finger reached out, hovering just a millimeter away from the wet paint of the Duchess's sleeve. Human, he repeated, his voice dropping to a register that made my skin prickle. It was the exact tone he had used in the voice note last night. Then his phone buzzed in his pocket. The sharp, violent vibration broke the spell. Cassius jerked back, his expression instantly hardening back into the icy mask of the mafia don. He pulled out his phone, glanced at the screen, and his ears flushed a faint telltale pink. My heart hammered. It was her. It was me. He cleared his throat, turning his back to me as he slipped the phone back into his pocket. It's passable, he said coldly, though the venom from yesterday was entirely gone. Take the canvas to the vault down the hall. Let it dry under the UV lamps. If the pigment cracks over the next 48 hours, I'll still throw you to the dogs. Do you understand? Yes, Don Cassius, I whispered, letting out a breath I felt like I'd been holding since yesterday. Thank you. Get out of my sight. I hardly packed the canvas back into its case. As I turned to leave, my foot caught on the leg of the easel. I stumbled, the heavy case slipping from my grip. Instinctively, I reached out to steady myself, and my bare hand brushed against the sleeve of Cassius's bespoke suit. He flinched back violently, his face twisting into a mask of pure disgust. Don't touch me, he snarled, pulling his arm away as if I had burned him. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, boss. I cried, scrambling to pick up the case, my face burning with humiliation. Elena rushed over, grabbing my arm and pulling me toward the door. We're leaving, Don. Cassius, my apologies. As we hurried out of the room, I caught one last glimpse of him. He had pulled off his leather glove, tossing it into the waste basket, and was furiously scrubbing his hand with a sanitizing wipe, his face pale with revulsion. He's such a germaphobe. He won't even drink from a glass a woman touched. I gritted my teeth as the heavy doors shut behind us. Just wait until tonight, you arrogant bastard. I thought, a cold, vengeful spark igniting in my chest. Tonight, you'll be begging to kiss the very hand you just ran away from. The moment I got back to my apartment, I collapsed onto the worn-out velvet sofa. My body was screaming for sleep, but my mind was a chaotic mess of adrenaline and fear. I looked at my phone. The $20,000 transfer from last night was sitting in my account, alongside the $52,000 from the afternoon. It was enough to pay off the immediate violent debt collectors who had been threatening my mother, but it wasn't enough to clear the debt entirely. My family owed over $3 million to a predatory branch of the Romano syndicate. If we didn't pay the principal by the end of the month, the Romanos would take me as payment. A knock on the door shattered my thoughts. My heart leaped into my throat. I crept toward the door, checking the peephole. It was my mother. Her eyes were red and swollen, her coat damp from the light rain outside. I quickly unlocked the deadbolts and pulled her inside. Mom, what's wrong? What happened, Arya? She sobbed, clutching my coat. They came to the house today. The Romanos. They brought a contract. They said your father's signature is already on it. If we don't have the $3 million by next week, they're going to take you to their estate in Long Island. They're planning an alliance dinner. Arya, they're going to marry you off to Enzo Romano. He's 62. Arya, he's a monster. Ice filled my veins. Enzo Romano. The man was notorious for his cruelty. Rumor had it his first 2 wives had disappeared under suspicious circumstances. No, I whispered, gripping her shoulders. No, Mom, I have money now. I have over $70,000. I can give them a payment. $70,000 is nothing to them, she cried, shaking her head in despair. They don't want a partial payment anymore. They want the Falcon territory, and they think using you as a pawn will give them leverage. They know you work for Cash's Falcon. They want to use you to spy on him or worse. I went numb. I was caught in the middle of a war between 2 titans, and I was nothing but a speck of dust about to be crushed beneath their boots. If Cassius found out I was being leveraged by the Romanos, he'd kill me himself to prevent a security leak. If I refused the Romanos, they'd drag me away in a body bag. Go home, Mom, I said, my voice suddenly detached, hollow. Lock the doors. Don't answer for anyone. I'll figure something out. I promise. After she left, I sat in the dark for a long time. The rain tapped against the window pane, a rhythmic, depressing sound. I pulled out my phone. There was only one card left to play. It was a massive gamble, a desperate leap into the abyss. If I played it wrong, I would die. But if I played it right, I might just survive. I opened the dark web chat. Before I could type a word, a message from him was already waiting. Mistress, I'm so sorry about earlier today. I've been thinking about what you said. I was too eager. I didn't mean to offend you with my size. Please don't find a boy toy. I'll do anything. I'll buy whatever you want. I stared at the message, a cold, hard resolve settling over me. I'm bored, I typed back. And I'm angry. Why? Mistress? What happened? Who dared to? Make you angry? Tell me and they won't. See tomorrow. My family is forcing me into a marriage. I typed my heart, hammering a frantic rhythm against my ribs with a disgusting old man from the Romano family, Enzo Romano. They say I have to marry him next week because of a debt. The chat went dead quiet. 1 minute, 2 minutes, 5 minutes. My breath hitched. Did he realize? Did he connect the dots? The Romanos were his direct rivals. If he was the brilliant Don of the Falcon family, he would immediately know the implications of a Romano marriage. Suddenly, my phone buzzed with a video call request. I gasped, my thumb hovering. It was a video call. We had never in 2 years done a video call where our faces were visible, but my back was against the wall. I grabbed a black lace veil from my drawer, a prop I had used for some of my artistic photography, and draped it over my head, obscuring my face in shadow. I turned off the main lights in my room, leaving only a single dim lamp behind me, casting my silhouette in a dark, mysterious glow. I hit accept. The screen connected on his, and the camera was still dark, but I could hear his heavy, ragged breathing. Mistress, he breathed, his voice a dangerous mix of submission and terrifying authority. Is it true? Would I lie to you, dog? I whispered, keeping my voice low, using a sultry, commanding tone that masked my natural pitch. The Romanos think they can take what is mine. They think they can take me. On the other side of the line, I heard a sudden violent crash. It sounded like a heavy crystal glass shattering against a wall. They won't touch you, Kasha snarled. The submissive boy was gone. This was the mafia godfather, his voice dripping with pure homicidal rage. They won't lay a single hand on you. Tell me where you are. I'll bring my men. We'll slaughter every single one of them. No, I commanded, my voice sharp. You will not come to me. You are my dog. Cassius, you do not dictate my movements. I heard him gasp a shaky, needy sound through the speaker. Yes, mistress. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I spoke out of turn. Please don't punish me. If you want to protect me, you will. Do it from the shadows, I said, leaning closer to the camera, letting a lace veil catch the dim light. The Romanos want to use this marriage to start a war with the Falcons. They think they can leverage my family's debt. How much is the debt? He asked instantly. 3 million. I'll transfer it now. I'll transfer 5 million. Pay them off and tell them to go to hell. No, I replied coldly. If a random girl suddenly pays off $3 million, they will suspect something. They will trace the money and they will find you. I want you to handle the Romanos yourself. Destroy their leverage. Make them bleed so they forget I ever existed. There was a pause. I could hear his erratic breathing, the sound of his fingers gripping his phone. So hard the plastic creaked. Mistress, he whispered, his voice trembling with a terrifying blend of devotion and lust. If I do this for you, if I wipe out the Romanos for you, what will you give me? My heart stopped. He was bargaining. Even in his submissive state, the ruthless businessman in him was clawing its way out. I took a deep breath, letting my gaze drift down to my hands. If you do this, I will let you meet me. In person, I will let you kneel at my feet, and I will put a collar around your neck myself. Aloe-choked groan escaped his throat. I'll do it, he whimpered, his voice thick with desire. I'll do it. Tonight, I'll make them burn, mistress. I'll burn them all for you. Good boy, I whispered and hung up the call. I tossed the phone onto the bed and collapsed, my chest heaving as I tried to draw air into my lungs. I had just ordered a mafia hit on the Romano family. What had I become? The next 48 hours passed in a blur of terror. I didn't sleep. Every time a phone rang, I jumped. Every siren outside my window sounded like a death knell. On the third morning, Elena called me. Her voice was frantic. Arya, get to the office right now. The Donna has called an emergency meeting. Everyone has to be there. What happened? I asked, my voice dry. The Romanos, she whispered, her voice shaking. Their main warehouse in the docks was blown to pieces last night. Enzo Romano and his top captains were inside. It's a bloodbath, Arya. The Falcon family is taking over all their territory. The Don he's in a mood. Just get here before he loses his temper. My phone slipped from my hand, bouncing onto the carpet. He did it. He actually did it. He wiped out one of the most powerful mafia families in the state because his online mistress told him she was being forced into a marriage. When I arrived at the Falcon headquarters, the atmosphere was chaotic. Heavily armed guards stood at every entrance, their faces grim. The hallways were filled with hushed, anxious whispers. I made my way to the boardroom, my legs feeling like lead. As I pushed the doors open, I saw him. A. Cases was standing at the head of the table. His jacket was off, his white shirt sleeves rolled up to his elbows, revealing strong corded forearms. He was leaning over a map of the city, pointing at various sectors with a heavy gold pen. But what stopped me in my tracks was the scent. The sharp metallic smell of copper and smoke clung to him. He hadn't changed his clothes. He had come straight from the slaughter. Arya, he said without looking up. Yes, Don. Caches, I whispered. The canvas, he commanded, his voice cold and flat. Is it dry? Yes, boss. The UV treatment finished this morning. The paint is stable. Bring it to me. I walked over to the corner of the room where the transport case was sitting. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely undo the latches. I lifted the painting and brought it to him, placing it on the table right over his map of the city. He stared at it for a long time. Then, slowly, he reached out. He wasn't wearing his leather gloves. My breath hitched. His bare, elegant hand hovered over the surface of the painting. He gently pressed his fingertips against the canvas right over the Florentine Duchess's cheek. Beautiful, he murmured. For a second I thought he was talking about the painting, but his eyes weren't on the canvas. They were on me. You have very unique hands, Arya, he said, his voice dropping to a dangerous, intimate register. My blood ran cold. I beg your pardon, boss. He slowly reached into his pocket and pulled out his phone. He tapped the screen, turning it toward me. It was a photo of my legs and fishnets, the one I had sent him 3 days ago, but he didn't point at my legs. He zoomed in on the Bottom corner of the photo. There, resting on the edge of the bed sheet in. The background of the image was a small, silver paint spatula. It had a unique, custom-carved wooden handle with 3 distinct notches near the base, a tool my father had made for me when I first started restoring, and right there on the boardroom table sitting next to my pink case was the exact same spatula. The silence in the room became absolute. It was a vacuum sucking the air right out of my lungs. I spent the last toll hours cleaning up the Romanos, Kasha said, his voice terrifyingly calm. He took a step toward me, his towering frame casting me in complete shadow. I personally broke Enzo Romano's fingers before I put a bullet in his skull, because he dared to think he could touch my mistress. He took another step. I backed up until my spine hit the heavy oak door, and then Cassius continued, his gray eyes flashing with a wild, dangerous fire. I came back here. I wanted to look at the work of the girl who saved my painting, and I saw this. He held up the spatula. I've been a germaphobe my entire life, Arya, he whispered, leaning in so close I could feel the heat radiating from his skin. I don't let anyone touch me. I don't touch anyone, except for the past 2 years. I've spent every night on my knees, begging the screen to let me touch her, begging her to step on me. He reached out, his bare fingers wrapping around my chin, forcing me to look up into his dead gray eyes. Tell me, Arya, he growled, his voice shaking with a mixture of rage, disbelief, and a desperate, pathetic hope. Are you my mistress? My heart was hammering so hard I thought my ribs would crack. The touch of his bare skin against my chin felt like a brand, hot and terrifying. I looked at him. The fear Don Cassius Falcone, a man who had just dismantled an empire overnight, was looking at me with eyes that were silently begging me to tell him what to do. He was terrified, not of me killing him, but of the truth. He was terrified that the woman who ruled his fantasy world was the same fragile, trembling girl he had spent weeks humiliating. I had two choices. I could deny it, plead ignorance, and hope he believed me. But he wasn't an idiot. The spatula, the timing, the walnut oil, the evidence was undeniable. If I lied now, his pride would demand my execution, or I could lean into the abyss. I swallowed hard, my throat dry. I forced my trembling body to go still. I let my posture shift, my shoulders dropping back, my chin lifting slightly against his grip. The terrified restorer vanished, and in her place, the woman from the dark screen emerged. I reached up, my stained fingers slowly wrapping around his wrist. I didn't pull his hand away. I just held it. You're making a mess of my collar, Cassius, I said, my voice dropping to that low, sultry purr. Cassius went completely rigid, his pupils dilated until his eyes were almost entirely black. A shudder ran through his entire 6 feet 1 inch frame. It is you, he breathed, his voice cracking. I told you to handle the Romanos from the shadows, I whispered, my eyes locking onto his. And yet here you are, bringing your dirty work right to my feet. Do you think you can touch me without my permission just because you have a gun? He staggered back a step, his hand dropping from my chin as if he had been struck by lightning. His chest was heaving, his face flushing a deep dark. Red that spread from his collar up to his ears. Mistress, he choked out, his knees visibly trembling. I didn't. No. I swear to you, if I had known.
If.
You had known what? I stepped forward, taking back the space he had occupied. For the first time in my life, I was the one towering over him despite the height. Difference. Would you have called my work dog _, would you have threatened to throw me into a fighting ring?
Would.
You have tore my draft to shreds in front of everyone? No, he whimpered, shaking his head frantically. No, I was trying to. I was angry because I couldn't find you. I was taking it out on everyone. I didn't know it was you. Please, mistress, punish me. I deserve it. I'll do whatever you want. He actually started to lower himself to his knees right there on the polished boardroom floor. Stop, I commanded. He froze halfway down, looking up at me with wide, desperate eyes. The doors aren't locked, I said coldly. If anyone walks in and sees the great Don Falcon on his knees in front of a debtor's daughter, your reputation is ruined. And if your reputation is ruined, you're of no use to me. He stood up immediately, his movements clumsy, entirely unlike the smooth, lethal killer he usually was. Yes, mistress. You're right. I'm sorry. Go sit down, I ordered. Pointing to his leather chair at the head of the table, he walked over and sat, his posture rigid, his hands resting on his knees like a schoolboy, waiting for the principal's lecture. I walked over to the door and turned the deadbolt, locking us inside. Then I turned back to him, folding my arms over my chest. We need to establish some new rules, cases, I said, walking slowly toward him. The Romanos are gone, which means my family's debt is cleared. But I still have a painting to restore for you, and you still have a mistress to serve. Yes, he whispered, his eyes following my every move. I think whatever you want. In this room during the day, you are the dawn, I said, stopping right beside his chair. You will treat me with respect, but you will not let anyone suspect what we are. If you show any favoritism, they will look into me and they will find out. Do you understand? Understood. But at night, I leaned down, my lips brushing against his ear, making him shudder. You belong to me. You will answer every call. You will send every dollar I ask for. And if you ever raise your voice to me in public again, I won't. He gasped, his eyes closing as he inhaled my scent of turpentine and lavender. I promise, mistress, I'll be good. I smiled, a slow, victorious feeling blooming in my chest. The city's most feared mafia godfather was wrapped around my finger, and my family was finally safe. Good boy, I whispered, patting his cheek. Now clean up this room. You have a painting to auction, and I have a career to build.